Yeah, I know I didn't officially announce it. Well, that's because I just wasn't planning on this month being Rare Month. You see, I started reviewing, Banjo-Kazooie and Conquer, then I went, you know what? Screw it. October's Rare Month. And, of course, I can't finish Rare Month without doing that game. Yes, that game. I had to do, of course, Battletoads.
We all know Battletoads, don't we? And why do we know it? Because of its insane difficulty that has been carved into stone to serve as a reminder of what difficult is. Even the youngest generation of gamers knows of Battletoads because of how crazy difficult it is. And the reason because it's so difficult is because of the rental market. Back in the day, parents would take their kids to a video store to rent a game for the weekend. So to ensure that game companies would get their money, they increased the difficulty of games so that they couldn't be beaten in this short span of 3 days. So if you wanted to beat the game, you had to buy it instead of renting it several times.
In fact, the Japanese version of Battletoads is a lot easier, and that's because renting games in Japan is illegal, although don't quote me on this, I think there's a way around it through some sort of loophole.
Battletoads looks amazing on the NES, as during this time the Sega Genesis was out, so seeing these visuals on an 8-bit console was impressive. There's a lot of visual gags, like when the characters' heads or feet transform to deliver a smash hit, making it all the more cartoony. The game is a beat-em-up style, but it does have a few elements of other genres in it.
You even get to look through the eyes of a giant machine at one part, giving you a nice top-down perspective like Snake, Rattle, and Roll.
Now that's an interesting game. It's a new take on the classic game Snake, where you collect dots to increase the length of the snake. While Snake, Rattle, and Roll keeps the same basic idea, it instead puts you in levels that you navigate through. The goal is to get to the end of the stage while eating enough dots to make the snake heavy enough to ring the bell on the way station. But the levels are filled with enemies and obstacles. Some will reduce the size of your tail on contact, others will instantly kill you. Snake, Rattle, and Roll is pretty difficult too, but only because you need to unlearn what you already know about the usual movement controls for other games. And the short time limit doesn't help you either, as the levels are pretty maze-like. Besides that, it's pretty easy and rather fun and enjoyable arcade game, and the top-down perspective reminds me of Captain Skyhawk. I remember that game from way back in the NES. It was one of my first video games, and I played the hell out of it.
Captain Skyhawk is one of those games that's just so good it's fattening. Look at me, this isn't from Cake, this is from Captain Skyhawk.
It's a pretty short game too. There's only 4 levels that are broken up into several subsections. You control a fighter jet in a top-down perspective for the main levels where you fly through multiple canyons, and the bonus levels where you're behind the jet. It's not too difficult of a game, and the jet you control moves pretty fast, so you gotta be careful not to hit the canyon walls. The enemy projectiles are also pretty small, making them very easy to avoid, but also very hard to see. But this game has one dick move it likes to pull off, and that's when you have to dock with a space station thing.
This is not a level, but you can die and get a game over because of the stupid mechanic behind it.
The station pops up in the center and the dock rotates, and if you're not careful, you'll miss and die. But it's a really good game, like Donkey Kong Country, which, in my opinion, is the best game on the Super Nintendo. First, look at those visuals. The technique that Rare used was pre-rendered graphics. They made the sprites and whatnot in 3D first and then converted them into pixel-based graphics, similar to the cancelled Sonic Extreme game, but I don't want to get sidetracked. The Silicon graphics machines were expensive, and Rare took a huge risk by investing in it. But it paid off, as Donkey Kong Country became the second best-selling game on the SNES. But of course, it wasn't just the graphics, the music was amazing too.
Jungle Love! Oh-ee-oh-ee-oh!
Yeah, the music is a really good jungle beat style, and it's very memorable. The gameplay and controls are perfect, and the game feels very fast, but in a good way, allowing you to flow from point A to point B practically seamlessly. It's a very large game too, and the levels feel like they're short, but only because you move so fluidly and rapidly through them.
Well, that's Battletoads, and with that concludes Rare Month. But I'm making an official statement right now. Starting next month, November 1st, is Indie Month. That's right, we're gonna have 5 weeks of nothing but indie games.